and Oscar Palema.
Look at that!
Wow.
Belmont.
Episode 9 over to Cap. We're back. Johnny P back with me again for another one tonight. I'm not even gonna wait. We're bringing Johnny back because we're gonna recap the U.S. Open. We're gonna start with. I know Johnny's gonna do his thing tomorrow on Straight Up 5, but we're gonna start tonight. Talking about the Open. John, what's up, bud?
Nothing much, man. Good to be here as always.
So let's really quick before we touch on the Open. I'm wearing my Hug the Lane Man shirt tonight.
Okay.
Big shout out to our buddy Mike Ormsby.
Oh, yes. New Jersey State champ.
How about Mike Ormsby taking down the New Jersey State Masters this weekend?
That's absolutely awesome, especially after his story about, like, he basically wasn't going to bowl last minute, decided to, and he showed his score sheet showed that he was actually struggling in the early going, and then found a little bit of fire, got enough to make it, and parlayed it all and turned it into one hell of a weekend.
Dude, phenomenal. Like, he's a great lane man, so you got to hug the lane man. I mean, does he hug himself?
I would.
Dude, phenomenal. And they were hard, too. I didn't bowl. They were like 1.4 to 1. They were hard.
Yeah, they did not look welcoming to anybody that bowled. That's for sure.
No, it was not very user-friendly, to say the least. But shout out to Ormsby for being the State Masters champion. So good for Mike. So this little piece of paper here, John.
Yes.
Before we talk about the U.S. Open, this was given to me last week. This is the score sheet from the 2000 Parker Bone III Junior Scholarship Tournament.
Okay.
I'm going to read off the names in the scratch division. There are only 19 of us. You were not in the field for some reason, but I'm going to read off these names and tell me the firepower that we bowled with back in the day. This is 2000, so 23 years ago. You ready?
Yeah, I'm 16 years old. Go ahead.
Scott Thornton. Jonathan Mazer.
Oh, my God.
By the way, he won an eagle. He has an eagle.
I did not know that. Now I do.
He won an eagle with Jeff Butler a couple of years after they came out of juniors. Yeah, another really good player. Dan Kryzak. Neil Foresto.
Oh, my God.
PBA champion Jonathan Van Hees. Number 6, David Botkowski.
Du Bois. Evad.
Yep. Alex Cavagnaro.
Still wish I threw it like him to this day.
I think everybody does. The late Adam Subak.
Still can't believe that's how we have to.
Anyway. Have to address him, right? Number 9, Evan Diamond Rockbuck.
Another good player.
Justin Van Berkel.
Shot. My college roommate.
Yep. Patrick Plate.
Hell yeah.
Casey Kreutz.
Wow.
Robert Miller. Aaron Gore.
Murderer's Row.
Nick LaBruna.
Oh, my God.
Jamie Chong. I don't remember a Jamie Chong.
Neither do I.
Myself. Billy Williams. Lefty with some funky hair. Samantha Williams. And Ojas Sampod. Yep.
He's probably still following through from Fairlawn 1997.
Dude, that's some firepower we both juniors with.
That's one hell of a top 16. That's
all right.
For sure.
Now, let's go with the U.S. Open.
Okay.
I am going to start off by saying this. The PBA Tour, the telecasts, are completely unwatchable. I'm sorry. they are unwatchable. I know they had 1 million something viewers over the weekend. For the
highest since 2020.
That's great.
Great.
What do they have? 40 people in the stands? 50 people in the stands at Woodland? Maybe.
No, I'm
More?
I'm going to disagree with you there. I was actually very impressed and happy to see how big the crowd was. That looked like a crowd from Indy. They were standing room only all the way down the lane, and they actually, the one good thing they did on the show was they put up bleachers behind the bowlers again.
Yeah.
So when they're showing them aiming, we don't have to look at this massive board flashing names and sponsors. We saw people. So I actually thought that the crowd was spectacular considering.
The crowd is good. I was a little surprised. They made so much noise, right? While they're on the approach, like, why are they not saying, hey guys, enough? Like, bowling on the approach, quiet please. Right?
I tell you the truth, Mike, I did see them getting a little chanty and like who's going to scream the loudest last as they were aiming. But I didn't really hear anything while they were in their approaches.
No, definitely not when they're on the approach, but like on the approach setting up.
I think that maybe they were trying to let it go to see if they would continue to get rowdy or like leave it there because I guess I'm not really sure about that. I think because it didn't interfere with the final outcome, they didn't feel a need to say anything. I feel like they would have had it happen one time, you know.
You would hope so.
Absolutely. If Simo's in his backswing or Marshall's in his backswing and they leave one of those 210s because somebody screams, I love you, Marshall, at the top of the swing, that's a different story, you know?
Agreed. But let's put that aside for a second. I'm sorry. Rob Stone is a buffoon. He is terrible in the booth. And how many times did Randy say something and then 3 minutes later or after commercial, he jumps back to it like it's like reinventing the wheel. It's already been said. That must have happened 3 or 4 times this weekend. The perfect example was the only player or the last player to win the U.S. Open back-to-back years was Dave Houston. And Randy made that well known at the beginning of the show. How many times did he say that? He must have said that 4 times. And every time he said it, it was like he was like a light bulb went off or something.
He does have a tendency to do that.
He's terrible in the booth. I'm sorry. He is atrocious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know of those two, Nico. So here, this is actually a great question, and it kind of follows what Mike's saying. The difference between Dave Ryan and Dave Lamont. Dave Ryan is like a generalized gentleman version of Rob Stone. Dave Ryan doesn't know anything about bowling, but he seems like he wants to, and he tries to use his commentating skills to be somewhat strategic, somewhat making sense in what he's saying when he says it. He's not necessarily there to feed off of the color commentator, you know? Dave Lamont, I think, not only has like the best voice that we've had in the booth since Schenkel and Burton, but Dave Lamont walks you through a little bit more. He explains each frame just a little bit better than Dave Ryan does. Both of them, I would take either of them over Rob Stone. I would rather, I mean, if you want to compare which one is more ridiculous, 60 feet to success or Hambone, considering the fact that it's actually 60 feet 6 inches to the pocket and then success happens after it. Or if you want to go with a Hambone, at least like when they came up with the term turkey, they called it a turkey because 3 X's on the old scoring monitors look like turkey tracks with the XXX. That's where turkey came from. 6-pack, okay, I at least get it. But Hambone, like,
that's ridiculous.
It just makes absolutely no sense. So anyway, the problem that I see is that Rob Stone feeds off of Randy Peterson. So in a nutshell, what you have is, now I don't know if Rob does this on purpose or not, but you have 2 goofballs in the booth. I love Randy to death, so don't take what I'm saying wrong here. Randy was one of my idols growing up. He was one of my best friends when I was a kid.
He broke your bed. He broke your bed.
He's like one of the coolest, most down-to-earth people you would ever meet. But Randy needs to be accompanied by somebody like a Dave Lamont or like a Bo Burton or a more professional,
somebody more professional.
Yes, exactly. amongst the two of them, they don't talk about what is important at the right time. Like, in other words, if you know that Kyle Troop needs spare strike in the 10th, you don't talk about it when he's aiming on his first shot in the 10th frame. You talk about it while he's like taking the re-rack or in the frame before. Here's the situation. If this happens, X, Y, and Z, and he does this in the 10th frame, he's moving on. If he doesn't, he opens the door for this. Like, let the public know, because the public already can't understand bowling math. If you don't bowl, you don't know what bowling math, how to do it. Correct. And you certainly don't know how to do bowling math when all you see is 4 boxes on the ground with a max score. My girlfriend, Rochelle, the last show that we watched, she said, oh, wait, so he lost now? But it says his max score is higher. Like, people that are non-bowlers don't understand what's going on there. And like I've said a million times, and I'll say it over and over again, I don't know what their goal is with what they're doing on the show, but they're not structuring it in a way that A, the public can get into it, and B, they leave out all of the most crucial elements of every single production of a live event that makes it more enjoyable to watch on every single show. And so what do I think? I would take Dave Ryan in a heartbeat, and I would pay Dave Lamont double his salary wherever he is to please come and replace Rob Stone. That's how I feel based off Nico's question.
And have somebody on the lanes too doing the sideline interviews. It's not Kimberly Pressler either.
That's the other thing is, or I guess here's what I don't understand. I feel like I'm a pretty good public speaker.
I agree.
And if I was in front of a camera and I was going to be on the set of a show, whether I'm going to be a sideline reporter at Cornhole, or I'm going to be sideline reporting at darts, or I'm going to be the color commentator at figure skating.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
I'm going to study that sport for a long time. I'm going to go get myself in that element. I'm going to learn the lingo. I'm the same way. If you ask a non-bowler what shim means, they're going to say, well, like a chamois. Or if you ask them, what's it mean from when a ball pushes, or if you yank it, or if you leak it, or you tug it, and what's a VAL and what's a PAP? If you don't know what bowling is, we sound like assholes when we say that. We sound like absolute idiots, right? The same way, if you go into a gym, you learn to say certain things like, how many sets you got left? Have you been working on your negatives? Are you doing 5x5s? Are you supersetting? You don't walk in and say, hey, bro, how much longer are you going to be on this machine? Like, there's lingo that goes with everything that you do, right?
Yep.
So the fact that Kimberly Pressler and Rob Stone have been in that element for over a decade now, and they still, to this day, have no fucking clue about the sport, it's ruining it. It's completely ruined it. It is at best, C rating production, because nobody seems to give a fuck about knowing what they're broadcasting anymore. And the worst part about it all, I understand women's basketball cut into it. I don't know what kind of contract the PBA has with Fox and all this other shit. I understand certain people don't have FS1, FS2. Let's cut to the chase right now. That is out of our control, the way that they ran the opening of the show. But what they should have done, and they just abso-fucking-lutely chose not to do, was they didn't break their planned show at all to highlight the most important things of the show. They took less than a second to mention that EJ could become the 9th person in history to win the Triple Crown. They took like 10 seconds to talk about it. As he was doing it, I didn't know EJ was going for the Triple Crown. I didn't know. So Joe Schmo certainly doesn't even know what a Triple Crown is. That was the worst part. They literally tried to throw the jacket onto his shoulders.
That was ridiculous too. Whoever that guy was, I mean, first of all, sir, he has to throw the fill ball, and that's number one. And number two, kudos to EJ. He told that guy, dude, back off. And he went to go hug Kyle first. Sportsmanship at its finest right there. But who is that guy with the jacket? Like,
I don't know.
Is he going to throw the fill ball with the jacket on? Like, who is that? That wasn't Chad Murphy. We know that wasn't Chad Murphy.
It's probably his brother.
Billy Murphy.
No, not Billy. I like Billy.
Now, I didn't.
It's his long lost brother.
I didn't see this. I don't know what he's talking. Anybody else hear shots of Randy and Rob taking shots at the USBC Hall of Fame? I didn't catch that.
Maybe I did, but I feel like, yeah, they did, but I can't think of what they said off the top of my head. But let me finish my rant real quick.
Yeah, please go ahead.
So now he wins, and which, by the way, I always loved EJ's game. I think he's one of the best. He's obviously one of the best that's ever lived, and certainly one of the best of our generation. But I really, really like EJ after this week. I like
100%.
I spent the money to buy the U.S. Open on Bowl TV. I watched him, true professional throughout the week. Watched him perform on the show in front of the hometown crowd. That was, and then the class act. I mean, just pure class. Threw in like the whole, just like kudos, EJ. Like the PBA is well represented by you, dude. Like fuck yeah, that was really, really good stuff. But anyway, in closing, so they shove the Triple Crown like it means absolutely nothing, right? The jacket presentation is. In case you're wondering,
you see that picture on the wall behind me there?
Yeah, I do. Then the first 4 Triple Crown is right there.
Yes.
They made 1,000 of those prints.
Yeah,
I was actually
that's one of the originals that's autographed by all 4.
I was sitting at a regional with my dad in Pennsylvania, or no, in Akron. No, not Akron. It was somewhere in Ohio, northeastern Ohio, I want to say, the Backel family's bowling alley. Anyway, and I watched them all sign them, all 1,000 of them in the bar. I was hanging out with I don't remember who the hell I was hanging out with that week. Anyway, they totally skip over the jacket is a complete fluke. And now we don't even get a chance to talk to the champion.
No.
The general public has no idea that the kid just won $100,000, that he made PBA history. But they had plenty of time to show a 10-minute segment in the middle where they had to interview Mookie and Jimmy Allen, and they had to talk about their week at the U.S. Open, and then they had to interview what makes the U.S. Open so hard. Yeah, let's go ask Kevin Williams, who nobody knows because Kevin Williams has made like 1 or 2 shows.
But he has an actual title. He does have a title.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Nothing again. I like Kevin Williams too. I'm just explaining here what they did. They ask all these people, half the people that didn't even make any money that week, what made it so hard. And they're all standing there basically telling you it's the U.S. Open. They're impossible. I'm miserable. I'm trying to be cool about it. I'm miserable. You have all those segments in there. Not once do you show qualifying. Not once do you show match play. Not once do you show a clip of one of the 7-7-10s that were made all week. Not once do you show the prize fund. Not once do you say what the format of the tournament was. All these people know that aren't bowlers, these million viewers that tuned in, is the oil on the lane is red. I didn't know there was oil on a lane.
That was ridiculous.
They're bowling like 2 10s. I feel like you've done that before, haven't you?
Yeah.
They are not sitting there going, wait a minute, are you telling me these guys are bowling for $100,000 right now? Like, if this guy wins this game, it's $100,000. How does that happen?
Yeah.
Because nobody knows. They don't tell you. Meanwhile, they think that having celebrities finish 100th out of 108 in a PTQ is going to get them ratings.
I didn't want to finish dead last. Well, I didn't finish dead last. Quote, Jimmy Allen.
Yeah, great. Quote, you finished 5 from the bottom in a PTQ. They don't like
which by the way was sold out, which that spot could have went to a professional.
Yeah, totally.
No comment.
And then they the hell was I saying there? Where was I going with that? I always hate when I lose my train of thought.
We're getting old, dude. That's why.
I know it happens to me way too much now.
I know.
But anyway, yeah, I'll figure it out again. But I was talking. What was I talking about? I was talking about the segments. I was talking about
the segments, about everything. But there's a lot of stuff here. We didn't.
Oh yeah, I was saying. Sorry, I was saying.
No, go ahead.
They'd rather talk about Jimmy Allen, Mookie Betts, in the PTQ. Nope, I lost it again. See, fuck, I gotta just cut you off when I get it back because I keep on losing it. Because they think that the money, they're gonna get more money from showing that kind of stuff. Because they're thinking too inside the box. You have to try and appeal to people that are not bowlers, and the respect that people that aren't bowlers, you're trying to make them bowlers. People will become bowlers if they know money is available to them. I don't give a shit that Mookie Betts likes to bowl. The same way I don't give a shit that Woody Austin likes to bowl. I appreciate them for their talent in their sports, and I think it's cool that they enjoy mine. But if I'm a viewer at home, I want to know, so you're telling me I can go to the bowling alley and practice 5 times a week, learn how to average 200 in a league, and I have a chance to go out there and win life-changing money in 1 week? wow, I might go try that. That's where the disconnect for me is like when you're trying to introduce new people, you've got to give them incentive, and money is usually an incentive for people to do things.
You're a golfer, John, right?
Totally.
You love golf, right?
Very much.
You watch the U.S. Open in golf, the USGA U.S. Open, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
Yeah.
How many times during the show or the telecast, whatever you want to call it, when they're playing golf at the U.S. Open, do they put clips of previous U.S. Opens or speak of the past champions or show a clip of Jack Nicklaus or Tiger Woods or Arnold Palmer? They show the history of the tournament, right?
Usually every commercial exit and entrance,
yeah,
at least.
Right? They showed one clip. So this was, somebody said this, and I don't know if it's true. This was the 50th U.S. Open since it became the U.S. Open in 71. So there were a couple
not the
years.
All-Star tournament?
Yeah, so when it went from the All-Star to the U.S. Open. And somebody said that this was the 50th, and there were 2 years that it did not take place. So I don't know if that's true or not. But if that's the case, the PBA did not show one clip of anything historical in this event. They showed at the very beginning of the telecast, an old school ball return with a black phantom coming out of the ball return. Did you catch that one?
I did.
That was the only reference to anything. Weber's won the U.S. Open 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
Did you mention Pete Weber? All of the mention about Pete Weber was he didn't bowl the U.S. Open, but if PDW wants to bowl, he has to bowl. No, Pete, you go to the PTQ. That's another story for another day.
Yeah, they didn't mention that Pete wasn't invited to bowl the tournament that he's won 5 times.
Did they show clips of, okay, Marshall's going for the Triple Crown. Did they show the clip of your dad winning the U.S. Open? Oh, and he won the Triple Crown, which he's the second guy to win the Triple Crown. Did they show clips of Barnes when he won at a Cavalier or Duke to finish the No, there was
or
not
Don Barrett.
Don Barrett, yeah. There's not one clip of any historical moment from this tournament in 50 years.
Right.
Not one. Not one. Now, let's scroll up here because I want to touch on these things here. And we're going to start with. See, I disagree with this one. Get a PWBA or do the sideline reporting. I disagree with that. You know what I really like? There were a couple years where they had, if you remember this, where they had Duke in the booth, or they had Belmo in the booth, or Stewie was in the booth. Let the bowlers be the sideline reporters. Majority of those guys stay anyway to watch the telecast. Why can't one of those guys? You don't think Stewie Williams would be great with a microphone interviewing somebody for a minute and a half on the sidelines?
I think anybody that knows what they're talking about would do a good job. When we watch the round table of NFL primetime, 4 of them are former football players.
Yeah, you got Bradshaw, Strahan, Howie Long. Yeah. They're phenomenal. They know.
When you watch NBA Live or one of those shows, who's sitting around the table? When you watch anything like that, that's what happens. The old tour, you would interview the guy in the upcoming match in the middle of the match, and the sideline reporter would be one of the guys from the top 24 that said, yeah, I'll do the sideline commentary this week. I'm driving to the next tournament with Randy Peterson, and he made the top 5 anyway. And then you get a little bit of different input from pros you already recognize. That's one way to do it. I don't mind the idea of a PWBA star. Quite frankly, I don't give a fuck who you give the mic to as long as they know about bowling. Yeah. I don't want my sideline reporter. I don't give a fuck how beautiful she is. There does come a point in every man's life where beauty eventually, like everybody's pretty in some way, but they gotta be pretty up here. Otherwise, I want nothing to do with them. Correct. So when they go over and Kimberly Pressler is interviewing somebody and says, so I see you played well out there today. Right there, I want to get the fuck out of here. We are not playing anything. If you fucking say that one more time, like I'm gonna say I'm gonna lose it. I'm losing it right now.
But you are losing it. You're right though.
Like in 10 years, nobody's gone up to Kimberly and said, "Hey, Kimberly, that's not a term or a phrase that we use in this sport." EJ, I see you had a rough outing on the lanes today. It looked like your ball was not not making the corner on lane 12, and then you jump over to lane 11 and it would snap hook high on you. What kind of adjustments do you think you need to make the next time you're in this situation? Something that has some kind of substance. I noticed you stuck a little bit in the 6th frame. Did that get into your head for trying to close out the match since it was so close? anything. I saw you, like, just ask them something about what's happening. It's like she goes there and she goes, oh, it's snack time. Come back. Oh, hi. You're so inspirational. Thanks. I'm leaving again.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your
Thanks.
time.
Yeah, it's horrible. So anybody that has any knowledge of bowling would be better than what they have.
John, I will throw my hat in the ring. I would do it for free.
So would I.
We would do it for free. I could see one of us doing the sideline reporting, one of us sitting with Randy, and that's what I mean. Honestly, the bowlers want to hear that. We don't want to hear Dave Ryan, Rob Stone. Rob Stone was covering the World Cup out in where is it? Qatar this year around Thanksgiving. He was out there. I'm not a soccer fan. I don't follow soccer, but a couple times I'd put a game on, I'd hear him. He was horrific doing that.
But
he's awful.
At least, like, when he was in the front room, like with Alexi Lawless and the other people in the commentating booth,
he has to behave there. Yes,
right. That is exactly right. He has to behave, and he is so much more professional.
Yes,
like I said earlier, when you have two goofballs in a booth, nobody has that wire to say, I have to be somewhat constructive right now. I can be an asshole once in a while, but not the whole time. But I mean, and it's not like anybody is ever posting anywhere that says commentary was great this week. When people go out of their way to say that I turn the volume off when the show comes on, or I put it on mute, or there's actual podcasts that do live commentary for the people while the show is on.
We have to do that still, me and you.
Totally.
We have to do that one day. Yeah.
I told Rochelle I wanted to start doing TikTok videos. I'm going to dress up as the winner of each PBA event this year, and she's going to interview me for the trophy presentation, being the person that won.
And she would have more brains than Pressler and Dave Ryan or whatever, Rob Stone, sorry, and she doesn't bowl.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like, I just don't get it, man. I can't imagine doing something for 10 years and knowing absolutely nothing about it.
And she must be making a great salary doing that too. She has to be.
I hope so.
I would do it.
I don't want her to not make money.
No, of course. Here's my open message to Tom Clark. Open message to whoever the Bolero CEO is. I will do it for free. And I'm not saying that to try to get a rise out of anybody. I would do it for free. I've been in the booth before doing an extra frame stop with Jack Kabowski and at Babylon. No, not Babylon. Farmingdale. At this PBA 50 stop at Farmingdale. This is maybe like 6-7 years ago. All right.
Yeah, it was Johnny Petraglia Open.
Yeah, it was Dad's tournament. I would gladly do it. And honestly, you give me the mic before we start, interview the 4 or the 5 seed to start, and at the fourth frame or the 7th frame, whatever you want to do it, we interview the next guy coming in, interview the loser of the opening match. Boom, there you go.
Yep.
And you get to the title match. Tackett was the tournament leader. Yeah, interview Tackett. So EJ, you led the tournament wire to wire this week. Led it by 300 pins. 1 game to go to win the U.S. Open, to win the Triple Crown. What are you thinking? That's what you ask the guy right before he gets on the lanes. Not like you say, well, you played well this week, and, how are you feeling right now? Oh, no. Ask him the hard question. You led the tournament wire to wire. You have 1 game to go. Mm-hmm. What are you thinking?
Totally.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's
we want to relate. We want to relate to the people that we're watching to some extent.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Now, I want to get to this Hall of Fame stuff, and I didn't catch this at all, John.
Okay.
But everybody is saying this here. A lot of people were typing in here, and I think Derek was the one who started it. The only Hall of Fame that matters to Randy is the PBA Hall of Fame. Oh, I didn't catch that.
I certainly did, and I love that he said it.
Well,
I actually like that one.
As much of a goofball as Randy is, and we know Randy's a goofball, he's very intelligent as well.
And he loves bowling.
Yes, he does.
And he loves that he is a bowler. I've said that time and time again.
He's the perfect guy to have in the booth, right? I'll relate it to the Mets, right? If you watch a Mets game, you get Keith Hernandez in the booth, right? And Keith Hernandez is the biggest goofball in the world. But he knows baseball better than 95% of the guys that are playing baseball currently. Mm-hmm. And he can break down a swing, a pitch, and a bat, a batting stance, anything. Randy can do the same thing. I think if you put Randy with a bowler or somebody like you said, like Lamont, who's more professional, Randy would be 1,000 times more enjoyable to listen to.
Absolutely.
His knowledge would come out more. And yeah, he would still make his corny jokes and, the gravy train with biscuit wheels and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
But like you pointed out, like when he's in the booth with Duke or Couch or Belmo,
or Barnes,
you get to see the extremely intelligent and also still funny side of Randy.
Absolutely.
You don't get it in the booth with Rob because honestly, subconsciously, Randy knows he can't talk like a bowler to Rob.
No.
He can't. He tried to fight the whole Hambone thing for years on the earlier shows. Remember?
So
I could tell it drove Randy fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Just like it drove everybody else nuts. But yeah. So,
the shows have become just unwatchable.
They're just it's like watching paint. It's watching paint dry.
Who's doing the intros now? It's not Kurt. Who is doing the intros now?
I don't know.
It was some woman was doing it now. Like, is that Pressler doing that too?
I don't know. It's a good question.
Now, what did you think of the 9-person format?
I thought that considering the shit show of the 108 invitees to the Open, and then the Open, and then the 108 in the TQR, and going through the 108 names that bowled, it already didn't look it's already not the U.S. Open to me. No, I'm sorry, it's not a U.S. Open if people that have won the U.S. Open are not invited anymore to bowl it. And I'm not talking about just Pete Weber. I'm talking about if you've won the United States Open,
you have a lifetime exemption.
Right, like fuck you to the people that take that away from you. That's just shitty. The same way I don't think they give out Triple Crown rings anymore.
That's really shitty. If that's true,
if that's true, that Triple Crown ring is like a stunningly beautiful, awesome ring.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. So, because of that, I said to myself, well, this is just a super grind tournament that pays $100,000. It's not necessarily the U.S. Open to me. There's juniors, there's Team USA guys, there's people I've never heard of. There's people I've never seen bowl a PBA event. Okay, here comes the crowd. Now, okay, of the 108, we're going to cut to 1/3 of the field or a quarter of the field. And then from that quarter of the field, we're going to take, 33% of them to the TV show. So the odds increase if you make it to match play. And the odds of making it were way, way easier because of the limited field. And because the scoring pace was so low, anybody has a chance when the scoring pace is low. Anybody.
Well, you're right. And the thing that I didn't like was now when you get to match play, there's no more cashers round. I didn't realize that either. There was no cashers round.
None.
So I was following it Thursday, and I don't know if you saw my post on Facebook. Parker was bowling the morning squad Thursday. Parker was leading the squad with a game to go at 177 over. Mm-hmm. And that got him to 4 under for the tournament.
Which is
so now
sensational.
That's phenomenal bowling, right? So I'm thinking, well, shit, if Parker pops 250 off in game 8, he gets the 50 over, that gets him to the cashers round. No. Silly Mike. There's no cashers round. He gets a check. I didn't know that. Now, Parker obviously matched up well on the 4th pattern. Look at Michael Martell. Michael Martell was 4th after 24 games of qualifying. Mm-hmm. And he gets the pattern 4, right? That was the first one of match play. He went 1-7 in the first 8 games. He went from 4th to 23rd like that.
Well, remember, they bowled 4 qualifying rounds.
Yes.
So they bowled on pattern 4, and Michael bowled very well.
He did
on day 4.
But whatever it was, he didn't match up on for whatever reason. And now that poor kid, he's stuck on that pattern for 24 games where all he has to do is basically go even, win 11 games, 11 matches, and he's in the top 9 bowling for the Open because he can't match him. He's dead. Like, that's not fair. All that kid's hard work that he did for 24 games, see it, flush down the toilet. That's awful.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that, like, Thomas Larson could lead by 100-something pins over second for 3 days and then get to pattern 4
And he's
and
dead.
and he's got like the worst look in the world and he's like, "Oh my god, I'm still going to qualify in the top 10, but I suck on this pattern right now. I don't match up on this pattern." I'm sure that happened to a bunch of people.
It had to, and you're only limited to 10
and it
balls.
also changed who makes the show because of the guys that loved pattern 4.
That's the thing. If you had the nut on there, you're good. If you didn't, you're screwed. You're 24 games on that. It's a long 24 games.
100%.
But now I don't like the fact that 9 guys have a chance to win it. I don't. I don't.
I liked it for the fact that there was bonus bowling, that we got to watch two-step ladders.
Correct.
I liked the idea that a couple of newbies had a chance to make it to the show because that seemed to be the theme at the US Open this year. The US Open this year was basically, we're going to figure out a way to make sure the new Tour Elite, meaning Troop, EJ, Simo, Belmo, Chris Vi, Anthony Nyer, Jacob Buttroff, we're going to make sure those guys hang around now. But we also want to introduce some other new faces. It's almost like they're trying to phase out everything that used to be bowling for the new wave.
How about, and I don't want to use the word wipe them out. They wiped Belmo out this week. He was nowhere to be found.
I don't agree with that.
They didn't wipe him out, but he's 100 under. You never see the guy 100 under at a major.
Yeah,
ever.
that you can't. You cannot say you wipe out anybody with a scoring pace that low. Belmo just flat out didn't bowl well.
Yeah,
he didn't bowl. He didn't bowl well enough.
Butters didn't bowl well. Butters didn't bowl well.
Butters didn't bowl well, even though he bowled great the last block too.
But that's the lefty thing. The lefties don't really bowl well at the U.S. Open. Historically speaking, they don't bowl. Chris Vi did not bowl well at the U.S. Open.
No, Wes Millat had a tough U.S. Open.
Awful. I look at Parker. Parker's one of the best of all time. He's 50 under.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I agree with you. They did introduce a lot of new guys. Justin Knowles, I watched him bowl in St. Louis. Phenomenal game for a 2-hander. Phenomenal game.
I like Justin's presence on the lane too.
Yeah.
He's got just enough attitude, but but it's respectful at the same time. I like his he looks fire. Like he's got fire and he looks like he cares.
Absolutely.
And he cares and he likes to win and he just looks like a good kid. He looks like a good kid. I like his game. He was steady Eddie. He never caught fire. He just flat out bowled well.
He found a way to bowl 220 every game. Yeah,
absolutely.
He grinded it away and he got there.
Yeah, it was fun watching him. Tomas Kaika.
Wow. He out-bowled Kyle.
Tomas was also impressive this week, but I hope I never have to watch him bowl again because I've never seen somebody so good have a bowling ball that goes through the pin. His ball goes through the pins like a
Emmett Shoots.
No, it goes through the pins like a pumpkin that's been carved out already. Like if you took all the seeds and all the gunk out of a pumpkin and rolled it at the head pin, that's about as hard as Tomas's ball seemingly goes through the pins. Like he left a ringing 10 that I could see the 6 pin. It was almost like the 6 pin was in slow motion going around it. I can watch the pins fall as his ball's trying to wiggle through them to get off the deck.
You could read the lettering on the pins. Exactly.
Yeah. It's like I had a hard time watching it.
But he did
very, very good.
He bowled a better game than Kyle did.
Oh, he got royally fucked.
He did. He bowled
the 2 shows was definitely a tale of I don't want it. This is for you.
Yes, exactly.
This is for you.
Marshall had him beat. Marshall had Knowles beat. Marshall gave it up. Mm-hmm. And the other one, I'm thinking of the other one. There was one other one on Saturday.
Thomas Larson.
Thomas Larson. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And
even the Simo match on day 2, Simo kind of lost it. That seemed to be another trend where they were better off in the fresh, and then they all kind of got hit with mid-game transition that just completely mind fucked them.
It was also good not seeing the guys have to loft the gutter after a game on the telecast in past U.S. Opens as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
How I noticed this one. I don't know if you caught this with Knowles on Saturday. Did you notice Knowles was not wearing a name shirt on the show?
I did. He's the second person I've seen do that.
Now, is that a fine or is that?
That's a
So
new rule now.
Oh, they
I
changed
believe,
that.
I'm pretty sure it was. What was his name? Oh God, he's a Brunswick guy. He made one TV show. I think his first name is David. David Stouffer. Dave Stouffer.
No
Yeah.
idea.
Not the instant frozen
Stuffing.
foods.
Not the stuffing.
Not the stuffing.
Okay.
Yeah, but David Stouffer made a show, and he wore just a generic Brunswick staff jersey.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But yeah, what was strange is like it's not like Knowles didn't have a name jersey. I mean, he wore the big thing was he wore what they said on Bolt TV, which by the way, huge shout out, and I'm gonna put a plug here for them. I did not get the whole subscription simply because I just didn't feel like it, but I did spend the money to watch the U.S. Open, and Craig Elliott and Mike Flanagan, one hell of a job they did in that booth this week.
Flanagan's fantastic.
They were on top of. They were funny. They were informative. They kept you aware of scoring paces. The updates were always on time. They had different people in the booth. They had times to joke around and pass time. They knew how to bounce around when different matches were going on, when it was important. All the feeds ran swiftly. Like it was I would listen to them, put them in the Fox booth because they did an absolutely dynamite job in the booth this week. So huge kudos to those guys.
Yeah, Mike Flanagan's really good at his craft. He's really, really good. Even Brilo, to an extent.
I like Brilo too.
Yeah, Phil's good, but Mike Flanagan is really good at his craft.
Definitely.
He's excellent. But we will have to do one of these live. Maybe we'll do it for the Tournament of Champions.
Sounds good to me.
The TV show for the Tournament of Champions. What else can we take from the U.S. Open? I mean,
well, like I said, it was a double-edged sword for me because it didn't feel like the U.S. Open. The tournament entries, the guys that were in it didn't have a U.S. Open feel to me. Yes, the lanes were hard, but it was different patterns every day, so that didn't feel like a U.S. Open to me. Having 2 step-ladder finals, that didn't feel like a U.S. Open to me. The production on Fox and FS1, they didn't seem to give a shit that it was the U.S. Open, so it didn't have a U.S. Open feel for me. This seemed like a very grueling 48-game tournament, which was 6 games more than the standard PBA event for 37 years before they decided to start saying, hey, you can become a PBA titleist with 14 games or 7 games a week, or if you win 3 matches against 3 random people, it's luck of the draw this week. And then they're like, whoa, gotta gear down for the 48 games this week and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, a lot of these guys are used to bowling 42 games a week for 36 weeks a year in different bowling centers without knowing what the lane pattern is at all. So 48 games may seem like a lot, but it's totally what the tour used to be. And it was definitely why the cream always rose to the top. And you didn't see people that have no business being on television getting to television. And I'm not knocking who made it this week.
No.
All I'm simply saying is that this is like, if the PBA Tour was 42 games every single week or 48 games, you know what I'm doing right now, dude? I'm going to keep going to the gym. I'm going to go ask my lovely girlfriend if she'd like to sponsor me for a year on tour.
And
I'm going to go try the tour. You bet your ass I am. Because in 48 games, the mindset is totally different than 14 or 21 or however many qualifying games they have now. So putting all that shit aside, it had no U.S. Open feel to me whatsoever, but the shows I thought the bowling was enjoyable.
Yeah, the matches were very good.
Yes, the matches were great. The lanes were fucking brutal, dude. They were brutal. And those guys, it shows you how precise
they are.
Exactly, how precise the game has become. Like, God, how fantastic is Kyle True, man? Talk about turning it on when he needs to and just flat out shot making.
And making the right ball change when he has to. Like, getting out of urethane, going to resin, moving left with resin, going to a bigger ASIM. He's the closest thing to a one-hander that throws it with 2 hands. Because Kyle really he does not use his thumb, but he keeps it he gets it into the lane like a one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like gentle. He's aggressively gentle with it.
Yeah, where the other guy, the Finnish or Swedish guy would whatever his name is, Tomas, whatever. He was more like a stroker that threw it with 2 hands.
Do you know who Matt Anderson is?
Andrew's brother with I hate to say with the big dome.
Yeah.
The big head, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a big dome.
Yeah, big dome.
Tomas Kaika is exactly how I feel like Matt Anderson would throw the ball if he bowled with two hands.
Yeah,
like,
I can see
even
that.
Even the way they walk off the approach, they reminded me of each other. I thought
Very,
that was funny.
like very dumpy.
Just kind of like wavy and
Yeah,
just
like if you
nothing
see
can
those
bother me right
the
now. I'm
big
totally
wind,
fine.
like the big wind puppets you see like outside of a car dealership.
Yeah,
yeah,
completely loosey goosey. Yeah.
So I'm looking now at this week, and there's a full PTQ squad this week. There's probably 100 guys in the PTQ this week. Another one.
Nice.
And I believe he is bowling again. He is bowling. The kid from.
Well, I don't think he came from Finland to bowl one event.
You know what else was good about this, John?
What?
How many guys came out of the PTQ that made the show that made a run at the title this week?
Well, it was Tomas. It was Frankie Snodgrass.
It was
Justin Knowles.
I mean, 3 right there. That's not bad. That's showing. I mean,
totally.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. It's not your typical old school U.S. Open.
Yeah,
I think the luster of it is gone.
This year it was. The luster was gone. Again, kudos to EJ. He's a U.S. Open champ. He's a Triple Crown champ. $100,000 payday. Rightfully deserved. Totally. But there was no production value on the show itself. There was no catering to the general public per usual as to what was going on, what was at stake, and just nothing. Like, did anybody even want to talk about the fact that other than the one little clip that Anthony Simonson had a chance to become the second bowler in history to successfully defend his U.S. Open? Did anybody even want to mention that? No, just a little ticker at the bottom. Hey, Dave Houston did this in 1995 and 6. It's the only
and he said that, and then Stupid kept saying it over and over again. He came back from commercial. Randy, did you know that the last time the U.S. Open, Randy goes, yeah, I said that it was Dave Houston. He said that 3 times.
Yeah,
he said that 3 times. Sorry.
I'm kind of starting to feel bad. I feel like it's not necessarily always Randy's fault anymore.
It's not.
I always bust his job. It's definitely not Randy's fault.
It's not. It's like you play the hand you got dealt. Right? I mean,
it's like when they say Rob Stone's, the family's reunited. Rob Stone's back. It's like, oh, great. Now I won't watch the show.
Okay, here's one for you. Randy's the color guy. Okay? You could have one of these 4 sit with him. Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Burton, Earl.
Burton. You don't have to give me anybody else.
All right, so take Bo out of the equation. Earl, Holman, Durbin. And we know Bo is the best that ever done it. But Bo is the best that ever sat in the booth. We know this. You got to put Randy.
I feel like Earl was a little too direct when he commentated, even though he was the most informative of the 3. Marshall Holman is probably, in my eyes, the best commentator of the 3 you just said. He has. I like Marshall's presence in the booth more than I would have liked Earl's. And who was the third one?
Durbin.
And Durbin, I always felt was, because when Durbin and Holman would commentate together, I would prefer if Durbin just didn't keep saying, oh, and all those sounds he used to make. So Durbin, I would say, is too much. Oh, there's
our Masters champion. Wearing it again for him tonight.
We already talked about it. You'll have to
we opened the show with you. Go back to Rev
your own party.
Yeah, go back to Rev rates.
So of those 3, I would say stick Marshall in the booth. Especially because Marshall was one of Randy's idols. Had to be. And anybody that's Randy's age probably admired people like Mark Roth and Marshall Holman. You know?
See,
my question is, why does Randy love the Stone Idiot so much?
See,
we don't know if he does or not. We know that they have a seemingly decent bond together when they commentate for bowling.
It just has to be something where they have to get along. I mean, how many great commentators? I'll just use Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. I'll use those for an example, right?
Yeah.
They could secretly hate each other's guts, but they're making $12 million every game for Monday Night Football. Do you think they care?
Right.
No, I'm going to sit with that guy for 3 hours or 4 hours every Sunday, call a game, get my $12 million paycheck, and that's it. And once they're out of the booth, screw you. I'm not talking to you until the following Sunday. We don't know if Randy likes him.
Even Veronica Corningstone and Ron Burgundy were nice to each other.
Absolutely. And Ron Burgundy was a big deal.
Yeah. And they, as soon as I got off their broadcast, they would, I'm going to punch you. I'm going to punch you right in the ovary.
Go back to your home on Whore Island.
Yeah. You have man boobs.
Yeah. You have bad hair.
What did you say?
Yeah, exactly. Now, John, I do have news to tell you. I am coming out west.
Oh, fantastic. When is that?
I will be coming out the end of April for the USBC convention.
Oh, very nice. Good.
I will be there. We will hook up, obviously, when I'm out there. And I will be seeing you in a month, under a month here.
Yes, I'll be home March 3rd.
Yes, and that's still... Yep, it is still on the secret side. Nobody knows that, obviously.
Well, everybody except Dad, and Dad's not going to pop on Facebook, so...
I highly doubt that. He was very vocal about the show as well last night.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, he gave me an earful last night.
I feel like he probably liked it.
He liked the bowling part of it. He also agreed that the matches were great. The bowling was good, because it showed shot-making, skill, but completely unwatchable.
Yeah, it's such a shame, too.
And he gave me a good one. He goes, it's like listening to a Yankees game on the radio. And you can't listen to John Sterling and Susan Waldman, and you watch the game on whatever TV they're on. Bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you. You watch the game on whatever channel they're on, and just hit the mute button on the radio. Like, you can't listen to, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
That's what he compared it to, and that's sad. But Dad also said years ago there used to be the qualifier to get into the U.S. Open, which people probably don't even know about.
Yep, sure was.
And
Rabbit Squad.
Yep, but like you got into it like regionally, and he was telling me that years ago he won a spot. He was the Brooklyn Borough champion, and they gave away one entry per borough in New York City.
That's
and him and Richie Hornwright won in Manhattan. Dad won in Brooklyn, and they went and bowled in the U.S. Open, and that's how you qualified. It's like Tin Cup in the movie Tin Cup, right?
That's right.
Roy qualified for the U.S. Open through regional tournaments, like satellite tournaments.
Mm-hmm. Same way Joe Stillman qualified for the World Series of Poker.
A very good comparison right there. We're just going to say that satellite events to play in the World Series of Poker.
Right.
Bowling is still broken, and this did not help trying to mend the wound. It didn't.
Yeah.
When did they also start? I mean, I know they would put arsenals on the TV. But very interesting now how it's Justin Old is throwing a purple hammer. Or Kyle went out of his pitch black and now going to a UC2. Oh, by the way, Marshall Kent just signed a deal with Hammer this year. They would never. When are they starting to allow when the ball companies started putting more money into it, you think?
When the ball companies became their primary source of that revenue stream of income. Yeah. It used to be you couldn't be partial to one company or another, and you couldn't even tell you, well, the blue ball I used on this lane and the red ball I used on that lane, because back then guys could be on shirt staff and then a separate ball staff, because basically all the balls looked exactly the same. Like if you go back to 1993, Ebonite had the Crush and the Crush R. So if you saw an Ebonite shirt and you saw a red ball or a blue ball, you assumed it was a Crush or a Crush R. Correct. If somebody had on a Brunswick shirt or a Phantom shirt, you assume they were throwing a Phantom.
A Rhino Pro, exactly, yeah.
If somebody wore an Ebonite shirt, you assume they were throwing a Turbo.
Yep.
If somebody wore an AMF shirt, you assume they were throwing an Angle. It wasn't necessarily the case. There were times that guys would wear, Dave Ferraro would wear the Brunswick Phantom shirt, but he would throw the Ebonite Turbo. A lot of people would say, hey, I saw Dave Ferraro bowling on TV. He was wearing a Brunswick shirt and the ball was black. They used to do that because you couldn't really identify by just the color. Now, at least, and now they've been letting you know the arsenals for a long time.
I like that. I do like
when
that.
Brunswick was the sponsor, but when they did the whole "What's in the Bag" segment.
Yep, with a 4.5-inch pap, and yep, I like that.
Right, but here's where they fucked up. There was a period where they would show you the bowler's arsenal, and then, like geniuses, they would highlight the one or two the bowler was throwing. Like, here's Kyle Troop's arsenal. He's got a Rubicon. He's got a UC2. He's got an X3. He's got a Generation 4. He's got a Suck My Dick 5. Whatever his arsenal is, they would at least let you know. And he's using the IQ Tour Solid on the left lane, and he's using the Proton Physics on the right lane. Now it's just, here's the list. If you can't see the logo, take a guess.
And it's
Go
the
back
Randy
and look
rating.
at the show. They don't highlight anything.
And it's the hook rating, and that's all they're giving you.
Well, the hook rating is there, great, but highlight it. Let me know the ball they're throwing. Don't tell me the 10 balls they have in their bag. Let me see. Tell me which one they're throwing. Because if I didn't know that Thomas Kaika was throwing a Game Breaker 2, I knew that because I looked at the ball. I said, it's dark blue. It's a remake. It's new in the line. It's most likely the GB2. And I saw it in the list. I said, okay, so now I know it's not a dark web or a knockout black blue or another ball that looks exactly like that. You got to let the public know this kind of shit. And that pisses me off that the ball companies, they want everybody and their mother to make posts about, oh, I shot 860 in league thanks to this Rubicon or this RSTX3. But meanwhile, you have production value on TV and the general public doesn't even know what they're throwing because they don't even highlight it anymore.
How great was this? How great was this with Simonson? And Simonson's notorious for throwing older stuff. When Randy goes, Dave, Rob, I know you like, odd names and whatnot.
Yeah.
Anthony Simonson is throwing an Alpha Crux. I was emptying out my dishwasher and I heard Alpha Crux. What the hell is that? And I turn around and boom, I think, well, Storm's not getting ball sales from Simo on this telecast.
Totally.
Oh, they must have loved it. He won the Masters throwing the
Optimus Solid.
The Uproar.
The Masters when he was 19, he won with an Optimus Solid.
No, last year's Masters when he beat Duke. I believe
I thought he won the U.S. Open last year. He won the U.S. Open and the Masters?
Yeah, he beat Duke for the Masters.
He did?
Yes, he did.
I had totally forgot that Anthony won 2 majors last year.
Yes, he did.
Then, yes, I'm assuming he did. And then on this show, he threw the Alpha Crux and the Idol.
Yeah, so the Storm was not getting they just released, 6 new balls, and Simo was throwing stuff from almost 8-9 years ago.
You know what, man? It's different nowadays than it used to be. Like, I know back in the days of, let's say, the Speed Zone. 1997, man, if you threw nothing but a purple Rhino Pro and a black ice the whole way, listen, man, here's 10 or 15 grand if you win the show, or here's an extra 8-10 grand just for wearing this shirt and throw. Listen, we'll drill you 15 speed zones to find you one that rolls like your black ice. I don't know if the incentives are as good, and I certainly appreciate a bowler who is, Anthony's in a different world than most people because he's eventually he's going to be the best in the world, assuming that Belmo retires or he just eclipses Belmo as Belmo gets older. But Anthony is like the second best bowler in the world. Easily. Storm ain't gonna cut him. And quite honestly, a blank Alpha Crux, when you really think about it, a blank Alpha Crux new in box right now, people would buy for $500 to $700
easily. Would.
And if Anthony wins throwing an Alpha Crux, they'll probably sell that ball for $1,200.
And you would see them on Facebook the next day for $1,000.
Exactly. So you'd get just as much press for a ball that's discontinued because Anthony Simonson was throwing it. Plus, Anthony wants to win the U.S. Open. Anthony doesn't give a fuck. He's like, I'm here to win the United States Open. I'm going to win the U.S. Open on my own terms.
You are bowling in the U.S. Open 30 years ago. I'm going to end it with this. You're bowling 30 years ago. You're a field of 374 bowlers, right?
Okay.
You don't have your legacy to Brunswick. You're just regular John Petraglia, league bowler extraordinaire, right?
Okay.
You have this magical week at the U.S. Open. You're throwing a speed zone, a black ice, and a tracer the whole week. Here comes, I'm trying to think of here comes Dave Watka.
Okay.
Right? Mr. Ebonite. John, great bowling. You qualified third for the show. Phenomenal bowling. I know you don't have a deal with anybody. I will give you a $10,000 check right now. You have to throw a red wolf on the telecast, and I'm going to hand you $10,000 on top of whatever you win. Are you doing that? Or
because if I make a TV show, I ain't taking a first offer. Because if I make one TV show, I know I'll make more. And if somebody's offering me 10 grand the first time I ever knock on the door to win a PBA title 30 years ago or 25 years ago, there's going to be plenty more people knocking on the door.
Agreed.
So I would throw away the 10 grand to not commit myself too early before I even know what I'm capable of. And like Michael said, at that point, going off of the logical side of it, the title is way more
absolutely.
I'm already in the money, Mike. If I make
yeah.
if I make it to television, I've already made money that week. I got paid to do something that I love. So for me, I always thought for me the hardest thing is getting to television.
Absolutely.
I don't care if I bowl 140 on TV. I don't care if I'm shaking in my boots. I don't care if my armpits are sweating.
You're there.
When I'm there, if I hear that crowd cheer one time, I'm an emotional player, bro. I'm going to go from here to here and I'm going to want to perform for them. And that thought is going to be way more prevalent in my mind than the worry that or the fear that comes with being on my first show. And I know that's shitty for me to speak about something that I've never done before. The same way when I was married, they said your wedding is going to go by fast. You're not even going to realize it happened. And the next thing you know, everybody was leaving before I even had a chance to say hello to everybody. I'm assuming it would be like that bowling a game on television. But that, to me, that's the part where it's fun. That's like what Kyle Troup did. Kyle Troup, when he first started making TV, he said, now I get to show the world who Kyle Troup is. And people love people like Kyle Troup. Mm-hmm. They love to feed off that shit. That's what I agree.
I just got a text message, and you may know the answer to this. Person asks, didn't Walter, and Walter did win a tournament at Carolier. He won the JP Open with a Helix. He did. We know that.
Walter won several at Carolier.
Yes, but he did win one with a Helix.
1997.
Yep. The person says with a Helix, he never threw it all week, and Brunswick told him they would make it worth his while if he threw it on the show. Is that true?
That's why he threw it on every show that he was on in 1997.
Really?
Yeah, because the ball was so bad.
That was the first $300 ball, right?
Yeah, it was so bad. But Walter was so accurate and so
Walter
good.
Can win with anything; it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, go back and look at the history. Go tell me how many Helix Quantums you see make television.
I think Jaros is the only other one that I know of that threw one on TV.
It's the only one I know of too.
Well, look at Walter. When Walter threw that, and then he even won with that Wilson crap. Remember he threw the Wilson balls for a while?
Walter won with a hammer wheel.
That is true.
Well, Walter could win with a ball that's still in the box.
Yeah. Walter won with plastic. He won with plastic. When modern resin was there.
He is he's untouchable. There's no doubting what Walter Ray has done for this game.
He's the greatest. I would have loved to see those guys bowl this week.
Me too, man. And talk about a tournament that I would have absolutely loved. Yes, Nico, it was. The gold stripe was urethane, and the black section where the Quantum logo and name was Power Coil 17, which was the same cover stock that was on the original Danger Zone.
And I'll tell you
the core was the same mushroom that was in the forest green and violet Quantums. Go ahead.
The Helix shirts were great with the little Brunswick bowler dude on the corner.
Definitely, those were the blue
and the yellow one.
Blue and the pale yellow shirts.
Yeah.
Those are nice looking shirts.
They were.
Those are great. I missed the black ice shirt. Remember, the dark charcoal with the nail head all over it and the Little Zone logo.
Yeah, and
love that shirt.
And the one guy that made the black ice, every time he was on TV for years.
PB3.
Oh my God, him with that and a green tracer.
Unstoppable.
Where there was really nobody else that threw those two balls on TV except for him.
Yeah, a lot more guys favored the Combat Zone over the Tracer, the solid over the Pearl version.
But getting back to what you're saying, I would have loved to see those guys like Walter and Duke bowl this week. Duke especially.
Oh, totally. I definitely want to see Walter, Duke, Voss,
Weber.
Mike Machuga, Weber. I want to see guys like that when they're this impossible. I would like to have seen that. I feel like even though Walter's 60 now?
Walter's 60, yeah.
Walter could have made the show this week.
And you said it last week when we were talking about Barnes. Yes, Barnes' physical game is phenomenal. Barnes throws it phenomenal. But Barnes is smarter than 97% of the field. And that's where the advantage goes to Walter Ray and to Duke and to Barnes, because they can not only beat you on the lanes, but they're going to beat you mentally. They know the move before the move has to happen.
They know the move the same way a bobsled driver knows every single turn of the course like the back of his hand before he's in control of the lives of the other three guys in his sled. That's the kind of brain that those guys have. So
And that's the thing. Walter wouldn't give the pocket up. He'd find a way to bowl 205 to 210 every game. He will never miss a spare.
Yeah,
And
no, he won't.
No,
no, he won't.
No,
and if he does, it had to be a mistake.
Exactly.
Give it over. Somebody had to interfere.
You know what, John? We're gonna wrap it up. We've got to go bowl league, but I want to challenge Derek Michaud to do a little.
Nice.
I'm going to challenge Derek Michaud to do a little dirty work for us.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I like statistics. I think you're a stat guy too. You like history and whatnot.
Love stats and history. Yes.
I want Derek to go figure out how many times Walter Ray had missed a single pin spare on TV in his career.
I already think I know. But
if I had a guess, it's under 10.
I think I've got 4.
I can't think more than 10 times Walter's missed a single pin on TV ever.
I've almost positive I've seen, or I can recall 4 times that he's missed a single pin on TV.
Yeah.
And one of them was with one of those like red or blue pearl turbos. So going back to like late 80s.
Yeah. And I don't mean, he leaves the 4-pin and he takes the test ball in the 12th to shoot it.
Oh, no. I mean, flat out attempts to shoot it and misses it.
Yeah. Flat out whip one. Yeah. That's
it's 100% under 10. So in his 175 television appearances.
How many single pins has Walter shot in his career? And how many times has Walter missed a single pin?
Dude, I miss more 7 pins in one league season than Walter Ray has probably missed in his PBA career.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's like a Tony Gwynn baseball stat.
Yeah. Yeah. The man's unbelievable. All right. Go Bowl League, John. We'll be back. I'll be back.
It's Tat Week at South Point, so I got a bunch of friends out here bowling the Tat right now.
Oh, it is Tat Week. I forgot about that.
They're all in the arena, so a couple of buddies of mine, a couple of friends from my nationals team are going to swing on down tonight, so I got to do some performing.
All right. Well, John, go play well. I'm allowed to say what I say joking around. Play well.
I would like to play well tonight,
See,
Ken.
I say that and I joke around because I know the difference. Kimberly Pressler actually thinks that's the serious way to say it, but
not going to really be recognized as a sport when your sideline reporter considers it a game.
John, how can we do this? Like, how can we work with them for one telecast? Who can we talk to make this happen? We know enough people to make this happen.
Hell if I know. All I know is that if Randy's had a job for 23 years, man, I must be doing something wrong, man. Shit. So,
you know what we should do? We should do it, but do it like uncensored.
Yeah, we should actually broadcast the show. Like I would watch the TV show.
Yeah, watch it.
You and I would be 2 good commentators.
Oh my! He whiffed that one at the bottom. Jesus.
Yeah, like a mix of Bob Menery meets like class.
But again, we would provide information to the bowlers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like. Look, people are saying, email Tom Clark. I mean, John, do you want to do this? I mean, we know enough people to try to make this happen.
Email Tom Clark and say, you do owe me one. You did beg me to get Flava Flav to come and throw out the ceremonial first ball in the arena at South Point in the inaugural year, and I did get him there. So I guess I should use that as feel like, listen, I got a couple other famous people that would be willing to like pop in and like enter the U.S. Open just because you let them because they're famous. If you let me sit in the booth one day.
Well, you know what? Not even like in the booth. How about we go up to Portland, Maine for the team tournament for the league? And how about just let us sit in the stands with those maniacs, sideline reporters in the stands in Maine?
That would be awesome.
That would be phenomenal.
Like actually interviewing the fans.
That'd
be a nice perspective too. To like what are they really thinking in the crowd right there? Why are they so in love with bowling in that one spot? Go.
Yes.
Let's actually listen to what that.
Let us ring the bell in Portland, Maine. Let's go.
I like it.
Johnny,
if anybody wants to hear us on Commentator Live telecast, let Tom Clark know.
I say we do the TSC together.
I'm in 100%.
And the Tournament of Champions, I'm looking at the computer right now. The TFC is March 19th.
That's the day after I bowl nationals. So unfortunately, I'll still be in Reno.
All right, so you know what? We'll pick it up. We can do the Masters.
Okay. I would do this week.
You want to do this week? I don't know if
it's
Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl Sunday. That's the problem.
Evelyn.
Yeah, it's Super Bowl Sunday. We'll make it work. But we will do one. I think we have to do one.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, dude. Bowl well tonight. see Johnny tomorrow on Straight Up 5. What are you doing tomorrow? More U.S. Open stuff tomorrow?
I am, yes.
This was just the appetizer.
I have to announce my bowling ball giveaway. I did have a winner.
You did have a winner. Was there a tie or no?
No, it went to the first person that said EJ's name, and it was given 8 minutes and 32 seconds into my show.
And the sad part is that I put Barnes in there after day one. How'd that work out for me? Grandpa Barnes didn't get
Jeff, that's a good thought. And my answer to that about that real quick is we're all aware of that, but be above it. Be the 5% that changes 10% of the 95% of the toxic assholes. I promise you, the same way toxicity is contagious, so is happiness and kindness. It's very, very rare that a true asshole is going to continue being an asshole to somebody who's being kind. So, and if they are, trust me, they're not worth having in your life anyway. And it's a shame that you encounter so many toxic people in this sport, but it is a mainstream blue collar sport that has taught people that complaining about everything about it is perfectly fine. Whether it's using powder or putting rosin on the bottom of your shoe, or now you want to bitch that you put in new pins a week before position round, or they always it's too cold outside. People tracked in mud from the blah, blah, blah. Bowlers will always figure out a way to bitch about something. And you want to know why they bitch so much, Jeff? They bitch because they're not willing to put in the time to get themselves better at it.
These guys that I rambled off before, we never bitched about anything.
Hell no. If anything, I stayed after to watch those guys bowl so I could learn something.
We just put our shoes on and bowl, and now it's what's the pattern, or how much volume, or how many mills are out there, or I don't match up on this one. I'm not bowling on this one. Guys,
right.
That's not helping to save the sport. We know the sport's dying.
That's right.
The way to save the sport is the bowl. Just put your blinders on, and you know what? You may not be your best pattern, but go out there and support the game. End of story.
100%.
Johnny, go Bowl League. We'll be back next Tuesday. Johnny's on Straight Up 5 tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern, right? 8 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Eastern?
8 o'clock Eastern.
You can find him on YouTube. Look up Johnny on Facebook. He's there. And we'll be back next week over to Cap. I don't know what I'm going to do next week. I'll think of a topic.
Sounds good.
I can't break down the PBA anymore. How about Super Bowl pick, John, really quick? What do you like?
Eagles, 34-31.
Unfortunately, I have to agree with you. I can't stand Philadelphia, but I have to agree with you. I think the Eagles win. So until next week, guys, like the channel, subscribe. We will see you next Tuesday.